This week's blog post is the first in my series on Edith Wharton's The Mount. First, some background. The Mount, home of Edith Wharton, 1862 to 1937, was completed in 1902. Its classical design is very different from, for example, Naumkeag, built about 15 years earlier. The rooms at the Mount are carefully laid out to allow views of several rooms at once, to encourage cross breezes, and to allow views of the garden and the distant Berkshires. A wide veranda, now the cafe, opens from most rooms on the main floor. The gardens have lovely views of the house. Of the 3 Berkshire cottages I visited, this is the one I would most like to live in. In 1897, at age 30, long before she became a well-known novelist, Wharton co-authored, with architect Ogden Codman, The Decoration of Houses. According to Mitchell Owens in Architectural Digest, quote, Wharton and Codman wanted to educate the rich, to challenge them to build beautiful, practical, and pleasing residences whose details, from meaningful moldings to efficient floor plans to well-made, well-mannered furniture, would trickle down into every neighborhood in America in one form or another. Thousands of interior design books have come and gone since, but most, I would argue, merely repackage Wharton and Codman's lessons in brighter colors and snappier prose. End of quote from Architectural Digest. The Mount was designed by Wharton and Codman and illustrates the principles set out in Decoration of Houses. For those of us who like to get our bearings, here's a map. You enter the grounds down here, and the house is up here. On the right, that is, in fact, the stables, not the house. It is a quarter-mile stroll from the stables to the house, with lovely woods on either side, so quiet and peaceful. The house is a classic design, reminds me a lot of Mount Vernon. When we visited in 2020, we were sent to the gardens before touring the house. This is the formal end of the gardens, which ends in an allée of lime trees, which are over here. From the formal garden, you can see the Mount, and also it has a very peculiar set of grassy steps. Probably dangerous in the rain, but nice and unobtrusive if it's not raining. This is the allée of lime trees, and coming up here is a view of the house from the allée. Next week we will look at the less formal gardens at the Mount. A word on what I'm doing with this series. Back in the summer of 2020, when most museums were still in lockdown or requiring masks, I discovered the pleasures of spending time in elaborate, exquisitely planned gardens. My first excursion was to the Berkshires in western Massachusetts, where I visited the Gilded Age mansions of Naumkeag, Ventfort, and the Manor. The Ventfort and the Naumkeag photos are already on my website, and the Mount is coming in the next 5 or 6 weeks. DianeDurantewriter.com has hundreds of posts on sculpture, painting, architecture, and my other obsessions. To join the Sunday Recommendations email list, visit the URL on the screen or email me. And you can say, well done, Diane, or support my work and receive rewards by means of the tip jar on DianeDurantewriter.com. As always, thank you for listening.